I felt him before he even spoke. By his footsteps. Confident. Unfamiliar. No one here walked like that, not across creaking floorboards, not across other people's fates. I was standing at the stove, stirring cornmeal porridge, and in my back, it felt like needles. Someone was watching. Someone was judging. Not like a person, like a thing. He was new. From the north. White silent. His name was Mr. Nathan. All polished, clean, smelling of expensive soap. When he passed by, even the walls straightened. We, the maids, didn't dare look at him, but we felt he was watching us. Each one. Precisely. Carefully. As if choosing. I was a little over 30. They called me Lina. I had worked in the mistress's house for 10 years. In the morning, baking bread. At noon, cooking lunch. In the evening, scrubbing the kitchen and the graters until they shone. My face had long lost its youth, but not its strength. And still, I knew when someone looked at me longer than they should. And he did. We didn't speak. Never. Only once, by chance. I was carrying a basin of water, slipped on the step, and almost fell. He caught me. His hand cold, dry. Just for a second. I straightened up, exhaled. He said, "Careful." I nodded and walked away. But all evening, my skin remembered his palm. And I was angry, because I wasn't supposed to. In the evening, the laundresses discussed who he was. Someone said, a widower. Someone else, a wealthy relative. And someone whispered he came looking for a wife. The mistress listened to all this with a crooked smile. She started keeping him closer, as if to say, mine. My power. My choice. One day she called me upstairs. That rarely happened. I almost never worked in the bedrooms. Only during holidays or when important guests arrived. She ordered me to clean the floor in Nathan's room. I felt everything tighten inside. But I didn't ask. I just nodded. His room was spacious. Bright. Not like ours downstairs. Dark, smelling of coal. His room smelled of paper, leather, and wine. I opened the window, started washing the floor. He entered suddenly. I lowered my gaze. Heard. Continue. I kept washing. Heard him flipping through papers behind me, walking. Then he asked, "Do you like it here?" I didn't understand. He repeated, "Have you been in this house long?" I nodded, replied, 10 years. He said nothing, just walked to the table, poured himself some wine, and left. That night, I couldn't sleep for a long time. Not because of him, but because of myself. I was angry that his words got to me, that they stuck in my chest like a splinter. He was a master, I a servant. There's no place for feelings here. But the heart doesn't follow logic when it's still alive. Days passed, no glances, no words, and yet I felt something changing in the house. The mistress became suspicious. Started calling me more often, checking where I was. She dined alone, then with him, then alone again. Her dress hung on the door, dirty, as if she had rolled on the floor. Her fingers were bruised, lips cracked. She was angry, at everyone, but especially at me. At some point I realized she thought he liked me, and that was dangerous. Very. Because if a white woman thinks you've stolen someone's affection, they can humiliate you. Or worse. In the evening, I was doing laundry in the backyard. Hands in cold water, soap eating into the skin. But in my head, only one question. Why do I care? That night, they didn't let me sleep. Around midnight, a boy from the stables came. He whispered, "Mistress said you must come. Urgently." I wiped my hands on my apron, wrapped myself in a shawl, and went. My heart was pounding, as if it already knew this night would bring no good. She was sitting in an armchair, barefoot, with a glass of wine. Her hair was tousled, her dress unbuttoned. She stared into the fire and didn't turn around. She only said, "Have you ever been in love, Lina?" I froze. "I'm asking seriously. Have you?" I answered softly, "I was married, before they brought us here." "Then you have. And what do you remember?" "How his shoulders smelled after work, and how he sang in the evenings." She turned. In her eyes there was anger, longing, and a kind of weakness. "Do you know what I'm afraid of? That he looks at you the way no one ever looked at me." I didn't know what to say. She came closer, almost pressing against me. "He's mine. You understand? Mine. Not because he loves me, but because everything here belongs to me. Even you." She slapped me, not hard, but unexpectedly, and immediately turned away. "Go. Tomorrow you will no longer work upstairs." I went back to the dark kitchen and sat by the stove. Everything inside me was trembling, not from pain, from humiliation. I didn't feel guilty. I had done nothing, but I was already punished, and it wouldn't be the last time. The next day they assigned me to work in the yard again, cleaning stalls, hauling water, carrying laundry. I returned to where I came from. Only now, with a brand on my back. Everyone looked, some with pity, some with envy, some with relief that it hadn't happened to them. Nathan no longer approached me, didn't look, as if I didn't exist. He ate, spoke with others, rode out on horseback, and I became invisible again. A week passed. In the evening I lingered by the river, rinsing sheets, though I could have finished earlier. I didn't care. Let them scold me, as long as I didn't have to see her eyes or his silence. And suddenly, footsteps nearby. Quiet but sure. I looked up. It was him. "Why don't you sing anymore?" he asked. I was silent. He sat down beside me. "I didn't want it to be like this. I didn't know that you—" He fell silent, then added, "I'm leaving." My heart tightened. I didn't expect him to say anything different, but still it tightened. "Where?" I forced out. "Home. My mother is ill, possibly for good." "Then," I said, "you'll forget. Me, this house, everything." He looked straight into my eyes. "No, I'll remember. How you smooth the fabric before washing it. How you close your eyes when you breathe in the smell of bread. How you hold resentment in your throat, but don't let it turn into bitterness. I'll remember all of it, even if I'm not allowed to." I didn't know what to say. The words tangled in my throat. I nodded. He stood, touched the edge of my scarf with his fingers, and left. I walked home in the rain. It had just begun, light as a breath. I didn't hide. Let the drops wash everything away. Fear, expectation, memory. That night I said nothing, spoke to no one. I sat by my straw bedding, took out an old piece of cloth from somewhere. Inside, a dried leaf, the one my husband once gave me back when we were still in Africa. I pressed it to my chest, and I understood. I am not a thing. I am memory. I am fire that could not be trampled out. He returned at the end of winter. No one was expecting him. No one knew. The yard was wet, the ground still frozen beneath the surface. We were busy with the laundry when the cart creaked at the gate. The horses snorted. Boys ran to help. I looked out and froze. It was him. That same step. That same look. Only the face different. Tired. Faded. As if part of him had stayed behind, up north. I turned away and went into the house. showed no reaction. But my hands trembled. Everything inside clenched. So much time had passed. I had learned not to think, to live without expectation. And suddenly, him. Alive. Here. Mistress came out to meet him herself. In a red coat, a shawl over her shoulders, as if it were not winter but a formal reception. She hugged him. Too tightly. Too long. I watched from the window and saw he didn't hug her back. Stood like a tree. Silent. She took his arm and led him inside, as if placing her mark on him. Rumors spread through the kitchen instantly. Someone said his mother had died. Someone else, no, but he couldn't bear the loneliness. And others whispered that he didn't come back by choice, that he had left a place he never belonged to and returned to a place where no one was truly waiting for him. I tried not to listen, but inside everything was boiling. I was angry with myself. Why did I care? Why remember what never truly was? Yes, there were looks. There were words. But is that enough to hurt? The next day, I was assigned again to clean the upstairs rooms. I knew sooner or later I would run into him. And so it happened. He was standing at the window in his room, an open book on the table. I entered as I had been taught, eyes down, hands busy. But he said, "Lina." I looked up. He stepped closer, stopped at arm's length. "I looked for you when I returned," he said quietly, "but you were hiding." I wasn't hiding. I was working. As always. He lowered his eyes, was silent. I didn't know everything would change. Everything? I let out a bitter laugh. Nothing changes here. Only the faces we lose. Everything else stays the same. He stepped closer. I stepped back. Don't. I wanted to talk. "And what would you say, Nathan? That you're sorry? That you loved me? Or maybe that now it can all be forgotten?" He stared at me for a long time. Then said, "I didn't forget. Not a single day. And if only you knew how badly I wanted to come back. Not to this house. To you." That's when I couldn't take it anymore. I turned and walked out. The bucket hit the doorframe with a loud thud. But I didn't look back, because I knew if I looked back, it would all come rushing in. Everything I had trained myself to forget. Mistress was waiting for me downstairs that evening, sitting with a cup of hot milk. Her eyes red, fingers trembling. "He's back," she said, as if I didn't know. "And you're still here." I said nothing. I'm not a fool. "I see. There was nothing between you and him," I replied softly. "And with you?" Her voice now held not anger, but fear. "No," I said. "And there won't be." She nodded and said something I didn't expect. "I'm leaving in the spring. Going north. To my sister. With him. You'll stay here." And she left, leaving me alone in silence. Only the stove crackled, and in my chest, a strange feeling, as if someone had untied a tight knot, but hadn't released it, just let it breathe. They left quietly, without goodbyes. Nathan drove the wagon himself. Mistress sat beside him, as always, straight, proud, certain. Only her gaze had become empty, as if she had won, but not what she was fighting for. Or maybe she had just grown tired of pretending that anyone truly belonged to her. I stood on the kitchen porch, wiping my hands on my apron. No tears. No hope. Only one feeling, emptiness. The house seemed to exhale, but it wasn't freed, just quieter. The danger had gone, but its traces remained. On the walls, on the tablecloths, in the silence of conversations. A week passed. Life went on as before. But we all knew the master had died, and now everything could change. And it did. Men in gray cloaks arrived, with papers, a new overseer, a new order. We were no longer people. We became inventory again. Counted, recorded, assigned. I was kept in the house, but given night shifts. No explanations. One night, while cleaning the kitchen, I noticed something strange. A boy stood in the doorway, dirty, barefoot, with a piece of paper in his hand. He shoved it toward me and disappeared into the dark. I unrolled it, recognized the handwriting. Nathan's. Lina, I faced trial. I didn't leave with her. I stayed to help, and for that they took me. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. If you still feel anything, stay silent. Just stay silent. That will save you. I read it 3 times. Then I crushed the letter and threw it into the fire. Without pity, without tears. I couldn't afford feelings. Feelings are a luxury. They only get in the way when you can be sold, beaten, or forced to bear a child by someone else's command. The next day, rumors spread through the house. Someone among the servants had been taken away. They said letters were found. Evidence. Someone had informed. I didn't ask. I washed floors, served soup, slept by the door. And I waited, not for him. For myself. The one who, maybe one day, would speak again. For now, silence. In the evening, when everyone had gone to sleep, I sat by the stove. I had an old scrap of cloth. Inside it, a dried flower. The only thing left from who I once was. I held it in my hands, but felt nothing. No pain. No tenderness. Only breath. Only the fact that I was still alive. I didn't go anywhere. Didn't search for addresses. Didn't run. Because slaves don't run by letters. They live, breathe, endure, until the time comes. They called me Lina. That was the name they gave me. But one day, if I survive, if I grow old, if I find someone who will listen, I will tell my real story. Without make-believe. Without fairy tales. I wasn't a heroine. I wasn't loved. I simply existed. And I remained.